Welcome to season 4 of the Get Set podcast, an old girls entertainment production. We are ecstatic to be here and sharing our experiences as women in the TV and film industry. Today on the pod, we have our co-host, myself, Jessica Payne, and
Monique Schwaneman. And our guest today is an LA-based writer and director, Sam Coppola. Sam has had an opportunity to work with and learn from incredible female directors such as Julie Ann Robinson, Jody Hahn, and Ellen Goosenberg Kent on projects for Hulu, ABC, and Disney+, and is drawn to stories and visuals that make the familiar uncanny, worlds that blend humor and darkness existing somewhere between real life and a dream.
And we met Sam through a screening of her short, Seeking Sugar, which is currently on its festival run, screening at 6 festivals thus far, including Oscar qualifying LA Shorts. Seeking Sugar is based on true stories of sugar babies in Los Angeles. The short peels back the glossy facade of the sugaring world, delving into unglamorous realities of these women. It highlights the cyclical nature of sugaring and challenges audiences to rethink their own perceptions, especially around young women using their femininity to navigate power dynamics.
And we loved it. We saw it. Yeah. It's incredible. Welcome to the Get Set podcast, Sam.
Yeah.
Thank you guys so much for having me. I'm so thrilled to be here. And thank you guys so much for such a great Q&A at Burbank as well, too.
Film definitely sparked questions and it definitely inspired, which is why you're here, because we thought it was amazing.
We wanted to connect immediately. Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's start at the beginning. Where do you call home and how did you get into the industry?
So I'm originally from New York, Westchester, New York, and grew up like a complete musical theater nerd, obsessed, was in every local production and went to musical theater sleepaway camp and thought that was going to be the rest of my life. And then as I got older, I kind of realized, I think maybe I'm only doing the musical theater part to do the acting part. And then so I went to NYU for acting originally, and my BFA is technically in drama. But you know what I say is that we stopped doing Shakespeare and started doing psoriasis commercials around junior year, which I think is great because that really does prepare you for the real world. But I was like, I don't know if I want my life to be chasing to be in a psoriasis commercial, but I'd love to direct one, and be able to build the world of a psoriasis. And I found myself in my scenes becoming, more concerned with the costumes and the set pieces and wanting to give my scene partner notes, which you can't do when you're acting in a scene with someone.
I
really
love it.
So I switched into film and got a minor in directing and a minor in producing. And then ever since I've been in LA, have just been doing that mostly.
That's incredible. I love it that, it's NYU, but I love it that you were able to get a minor in those things and those were available and you were able to, in the moment while you were still studying, recognize that and add that on. Did your BFA require you to take a directing class, or did you just, or not, or did you just find out that you loved it just by recognizing what you were doing in scene study?
Yeah, I had done some. The way that it worked, it kind of felt like you were directing your own scenes when you'd go home and analyze stuff. And in high school, I was directing one acts and plays here and there. So I always knew I was very interested in it. And then once I switched into the minor, I was like, oh my God, this is such a better fit for me, because I think the acting was just a way to tell storytelling. Because when you're a kid, that's the best opportunity to get into it. There aren't directing classes in middle school. There aren't really, at least where I'm from now, living in LA, you hear about these high schools that do have amazing film programs. So just made it all really started to click, and not just the directing, but all the aspects that go into storytelling and being really interested in set design and costuming and all of that and casting. So I definitely, but now, as a director, I think it's the most helpful thing I ever did. I wouldn't go back and do more film classes. I would have totally stayed the same path that I did, because I don't understand sometimes how directors can direct actors without having that experience. And I feel like it's also helpful for giving notes because, for example, I was directing a scene once where the we were in a studio village kind of far away. I wasn't near my actor, and it was just supposed to be her looking out over the ocean. And I decided in that moment maybe it'd be a good idea to have her cry a little bit. And so I could walkie to the AD, tell Jeannie to start breathing from her chest, which is not a good note for an actor. Like, you want to breathe from your stomach and breathe from whatever, but I know that will create some emotion for her. So rather than stopping the whole scene, going up, explaining to her what the emotion is here, which is obviously what you want to do if you have the time, but in a quick pinch, you can think of simple fixes like that.
I love that, because you probably took like voice and movement classes like I did.
Yes,
like for your
exactly.
BFA. Yeah.
Exactly.
Because you know how to, physically place yourself or your breath in order to elicit that emotional response. That is key. No,
I also love the fact that you said, you got into it with acting, because similarly with like my writing and directing, I was like, as a kid, I was like, I want to be an actor, because that's what I connected to on screen was the actors.
That's all you see.
Yeah, you see Lindsay Lohan playing two parts as Annie and Hallie in The Parent Trap. You're like, I want to do that. And then I quickly found out, though, personally, I am not an actor. I don't like acting. The acting part of it is really hard for me. So that's whenever I pivoted. But it's, and especially in the age of AI and everything, that's the thing that's like, you connect. I mean, I don't know how we're going to get rid of actors, because that's what I found I connected to was the human story, but the humans on the screen as well. And that's like, the beauty of it. I mean, we see all the different worlds, but like, I feel like that emotional connection is through our actors. Yeah. I just love that you kind of pointed that out, that it's like, it started with acting.
When you pivoted and you added those minors, you said you also minored in producing. Did they offer business classes, or what was like the most beneficial class that you're like, oh man, I'm so glad that this was part of the curriculum? It's like transitioning to the real world.
I think producing in particular, it's so hard to teach what it is, because so even after I did the minor, I was still like, what is a producer though? Like, I know who famous producers are and what the general thing is, but it's really the best education you can get in being on a set and watching and learning. And it's so, and even now on a set, if I go and produce a friend's short or something, that looks different every single time.
Well, every story is going to be different. And on top of that, what I think we don't necessarily get in schools and everything, because again, it's so wide varying, is producers look different between commercials, between television, film, like every role in those areas, like as a producer, they have different jobs essentially in between those different categories. And then of course in in each project as well is going to be different.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think the best thing about film school, I think acting training you really do need. Obviously there's like the off person who's a star born just supernaturally great at it. But I think most people do benefit from learning some sort of technique at least. But with film, I will say you really can do it yourself. You can Google what all the equipment does. You can watch YouTube videos. I think the best thing about going to a film school is that you have nice equipment to play with and you get to learn how to actually use it. But you can also do that online. You just might not have physical access to it all the time. Mm-hmm. And then having professors that you trust give you feedback and help guide you and give you ideas for that and making connections. But film school, I feel like you really can do yourself and just being on sets and PAing.
Did you come out of there with a reel or no? Okay.
No, I think that if I had stayed in one program or the other, I would have. But I also got so I switched in to the film program in January of 2020. So my film
You're living Jessica's life. Jessica did something similar,
was in person for only 3 months, and then the rest was online as well. So definitely kind of a crazy time to come into the industry of graduating in 2021, and things were just starting to get back together, but there was still, COVID officers on every set, and then the strikes happening. So just a particularly insane time.
I mean, the one good thing is that it's like prepared you for the time that we're living in that like the industry's crazy. Like it's shut down, you know, for 1 year and then it's popping off the next and then shut down for another 3 years, like or from one reason or another, you know?
Yes, and being forced to be at home and make sort of DIY videos was also great training for me. And, my best friends were all still from acting school, so I can use them in whatever I wanted. And it really I have so many videos that have never seen the light of day, and I'd make one and be like, God, this sucks. Like, this was so much better in my head. Make another one, like, okay, it's a little better, but I'm still not fully proud of it. But all of those things now I've realized that helped me build my taste and learn color and learn what looks good and learn what I don't like and how to avoid mistakes on a really smaller, no stakes sort of scale. And in this world that we're living in now where everything is done on the iPhone and is so many TikTokers start as TikTokers and now have TV shows that they're writing and directing. So I think that it is good to know how to do the do-it-yourself style.
I also think it's like what's nice is you know how to communicate. Once, you get to like a bigger set, you'll know, and you do know how to communicate what you want because you know what it is that you're doing. You know what it is, right? Like you know how to speak that language with your cinematographer, with your gaffer, with all of it because you've done it. You have had hands-on experience.
Yes, and I think coming up in this, most of the jobs that I've gotten so far are because I'll do more than direct. And I think this like studio, and I think that's very common for most people nowadays, how you get into it. And this, directing itself is a really mystifying career path because there's no real path to it. There's, if you want to be a DP, you can start as a camera PA and then go to DIT and then go to third AC and second AC and then become a DP. Directing, it just kind of seems like one day you are a director, you get to be chosen, and that, you're never going to get the phone call is something that I really believe in as well. So many things that I've done are because I'll edit it as well. I'll do the set design as well. A music video that I just did last month. There's this guy that I'm now creative directing for, and he's an amazing up and coming musician. Like I really think that he could be the next Troye Sivan. And we met because I was at Trader Joe's and he was checking me out. And so he's like this 20-year-old kid who has like this. So we just started, and they're forced to flirt with you at the checkout line. So he's like, "What are you doing later?" And I was like, "Oh, filming a music video." And he's like, "Oh, I'm a singer. I would love." And so we started DMing, and now for the past 6 months, we talk every single day and are doing his whole album rollout and have made 2 music videos so far.
Okay, what's his name? We need to shout it out.
Yeah, Leo Amario.
Love
is his name.
We're gonna go look it up.
Yeah, he's amazing.
Follow.
So things like that.
That's so LA.
Exactly.
That's such an LA story.
Really does go into also what you were saying. I mean, our theme this season specifically is being like multi-hyphenate. And how
because
it used to be right. It used to be kind of like a taboo thing. And now it's like you absolutely have to be like a multi-hyphenate to get anywhere. I don't know. It just like reinforces that theme that we've been talking about of like, yeah, maybe you're not like a DP and director. And so you do like both things, but you're saying, you are saying like, I have skills in like everything. And so, or in most things that I can do, or a handful of things that I can do. And so that helps me get the job of what I like essentially want to do.
Yes. Yeah. And a great like day job for me has been doing social media marketing as well and making content for different brands and companies. And it's such a great entry level because how I started in that was just doing it and then sending it to brands and then they'd start posting it. And then you can build up a little portfolio of I've worked with this brand and that brand and start to reach out with a rate and whatnot. And so then I leverage myself as a director, for making commercials for that company and kind of packaging myself as marketing, production company, director, editor.
Yeah. And marketing is huge, especially, I mean, I feel like with the industry right now, the hardest part of like why films are not doing quote unquote as well is because they're either like the big production companies are not really marketing or not marketing well these movies, because sometimes I'll hear about a movie and then they're not in theaters long enough to like get a word of mouth either. So I'll hear about a movie that's already out of theaters and I'm like, oh, I didn't even realize that that was in theaters because it was there for 2 weeks. By the time word of mouth got to me, it's out. And I didn't see any marketing from anything, which also, by the way, you did send over the Seeking Sugar
We're
press
going to
kit.
get into that. That is a
Yeah,
question I
we'll
have.
get into that.
Love the press kit.
Gorgeous. Absolutely
Thank you.
insane. So, I mean, I think that also another thing, marketing is huge. It's a great thing that you have like a skill
to know how to
set
package something.
Right, exactly. Because half of it, like as much as we love making movies, we want it to be seen. Like the point is sharing that art to people. So
Yes, exactly. And I worked in development for about a year when I first got here.
So let's get into that. So you graduated from NYU, amazing. And then how did you make that transition to LA, or what was the first kind of from college, then what are you doing? How did you get out here, to where you are now?
So my parents were like, you are not moving across the country without a job lined up. Like you have to have something. You can't just go there and whatever, we're not going to help you. Like you have to have a job. So I scoured the internet, and I will say I've gotten, when first starting out, all the jobs that I got were from entertainmentcareers.com. It is a very old looking site. It's really not user friendly. They really should update it. Entertainment Careers, hire me to do your marketing. And but the three really solid, like decently long-term jobs have been from that website. And I know that there's some like Holly List and other things, but Entertainment Careers. So I got a job as a PA on a low budget feature, and it was kind of a mess, but I was really willing to work really hard, and I did everything and just was a sponge and loved every second of it and was working crazy long hours. So I started with them in pre-production, and it was about a 7-month thing until we were in post that I worked there. But by the time we'd gotten to production, I was the production coordinator of the film. So I really got to like see the whole become PA. And then they're like, oh, do you want, maybe you're working so hard, we're not paying you enough, maybe we can find a better title, and then so on and so forth. So I don't think that my pay increased from PA to production coordinator.
But you got a title.
But I got a title and I learned a lot. And then from there, I had an interview because I was just like, oh my God, this is the first time where you see like, what's next? Oh my God, this ended and I have nothing lined up. So I was just applying for everything. I got my COVID officer certificate and had an interview to be the COVID officer for season 2 of the Mighty Ducks I actually wasn't even the COVID officer, it was a COVID PA for season 2 of the Mighty Ducks on Disney Plus.
Nice.
And
that I know interview PAs who worked on that. Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah, PAs, yeah.
Yeah. Well, the interview went great. I loved the guy who interviewed me, and he called me about a week later saying they're pushing back filming, but an assistant position for Julianne Robinson just opened up. Would you be interested in interviewing for that? And Julianne is just this amazing director. She directed the pilot of Bridgerton, so she really set the tone for that whole show. She just directed all of Hunting Wives that just came out.
Great.
She directed my personal favorite, The Last Song, with Miley Cyrus and Liam Hemsworth.
Yeah.
But so she's so amazing in making these really female-driven pieces. Yeah. And I was hired to be her assistant in pre-production for a pilot for Hulu that never ended up getting picked up, but it was going to be like the Bridgerton version for Hulu, but also a musical. So that was
perfect for you.
Really, yes, exactly,
background.
Exactly. So that was a really fun.
A hard sell, though.
Yes, but she, the number one thing that she taught me that really stuck with me is she was like, "You will be fired without a question. I won't ask any follow-ups. You will immediately be fired if I hear that you are ever rude or unpleasant to anyone. She was like, it'd make me so happy if I got a call from someone being like, is there something wrong with your assistant? Why is she so nice? Like, what's wrong with her? So that really stuck with me. And I think it shows genuinely the more successful people I know are like that. So that does give me hope. And I feel like it's the people who aren't getting as far that are, you know, because I've worked with some nasty people on sets too, which is kind of surprising to me. And I was just like, how do people even
call on you?
Speak like that too. Like, how does that even come out of you to carry yourself in that way? But I guess, you know, there's a lot of stress and money on the line. But yeah, her kindness was just amazing. And she's someone now that I can always reach out to and ask advice for, and has helped me get other jobs after that. And then from there went on to development for about a year. And that was where I really learned how to make decks. And that was really focused on pre-production and how a show gets made and how you pitch and marketing and making connections in that world. And then from there went on to do Seeking Sugar, and now have been doing marketing, branding, commercials, music videos, writing since.
And killing it.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's incredible. And just really quick, that is a massive jump to be a PA or production coordinator to an assistant of someone of that caliber.
Yeah.
So it must have, you know, clearly for you to be referenced for that job, you were killing it and you were working hard, and people recognize that you are a good person.
And staying kind.
Yeah, staying kind, had that work ethic, were picking up on things quickly in order to even be considered for that job.
Yes. Yeah. Thank you. Well, so my first ever job in the industry was the summer going into college. I interned for Charles Strauss, who wrote the lyrics for Annie and Bye Bye Birdie.
Wow.
And so I think being with someone of that caliber first, and he was 95 at the time too, or 91. And he's still alive, I believe. But so that was a really cool experience to have that. And that felt high stakes at the time, being 18. So that was a good jumping off point to learn how to be in the room as an assistant.
Yeah, I also, how was that experience with you? Especially, I mean, if you're entering the room and you kind of have to have like some sort of know-how, you know, like when you're entering a room of people who have been doing this like for a lot longer than you, like how do you navigate either questions that come up, or like if you don't know something, like do you ask?
Having the confidence to respond.
Yeah. How did you navigate kind of, you know, as being new and stepping into that room and when questions came up or whatever, you know, hurdles or whatever?
The biggest thing is you never want to lie.
Mm-hmm.
You want to, you know, it is a lot of faking it till you make it. And sometimes, you know, someone will tell you to do something and maybe try to quickly Google it on your phone first before you ask how, to at least seem like you know what you're doing. But you never want to lie because you will get found out, and that's the worst thing possible. So I think, you know, I'm hesitant to say ask every question that you have, because I've worked with people who are like, are you an idiot? Like, who are, you know, expect you to be at a certain level. But some people, it's really read the room and read the person. Some people don't want you to speak, just take notes, anticipate their needs, do personal things for them. And then some people, like Julianne, want your opinion, want it to be a conversation, want to nurture you as a person and see your career grow, want to introduce you to other people. So I think that it really, both are beneficial. And I think that you should experience working with both kinds of people. But it's definitely a mix of acting like you know what you're doing and staying on top of it, especially if you don't.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's great. That's good. That is good advice. Like knowing where your shortcomings are, researching it, doing the best you can, being honest, but then having the confidence to, answer questions and be a presence in those rooms when needed. Really quick before we get on to Seeking Sugar, you do edit. You have edited projects that you've worked on. Was that mostly out of, because I know Jessica liking to edit is a stretch. Jessica likes to have an editing hand in the things that she does. Of course, directors do, right? So like, where is that fine line
Because it can
for
fall
you,
apart in the
Sam?
edit, or it can thrive in the edit. So
There you go. Yes.
So I love editing for myself because I can do it in a unprofessional and lazy way, I guess, of throwing things in bins and not labeling it and not knowing really the right way to export things. So I did this summer take an editing class at UCLA, which was
Is it their
extremely
extension
helpful.
program?
Yes,
Yeah,
I
that
did.
program's great.
Yes, yeah, I've taken 2 classes there, but the editing one was in person, and I highly recommend that if someone's interested. And again, you kind of can learn online yourself, but it's really helpful when you're learning a software to be there in person.
and there is like an industry standard of things. So if in case like you are editing your own thing and you then need to pass it off to someone, or you then need to export it in a certain way for a certain festival for some reason, like you need to kind of be able to understand how things should look, because it can get, like you said, it can get messy and then you're effed. I mean, if you're doing it yourself, then whatever, but you don't want to pass that off onto someone.
Exactly. So that's why I don't know if I feel quite comfortable editing things for other people, but probably I should treat my own work as I would for other people though. So that's my New Year's resolution, is to be a more organized and proficient editor. But yes, I'm not doing crazy green screen, effects, but I can string something together. And I think as a writer too, it's extremely helpful to learn timing and to think about, as you're writing and directing something, how it will be edited, especially in the music video world, with transitions and different angles that we might want to throw. Because I feel like with music videos, you kind of are editing it in your head live and more to a T, whether with film, you're going to go and look at what take was better and splicing things up.
Well, yeah, and you have your track that is a finite thing already, and you're filming around your track essentially. I mean, I know that they can kind of like extend things here and there for a music video, but essentially you have your
Finite
piece
seconds.
that you're just adding your images on top of. So it does have to be really concise and perfected.
Yes. Yeah. And then writing as well too. I love to write things that I'm going to direct myself, because I can add in things that a writer normally doesn't, and talk about camera angles and some blocking things, and nothing that is too invasive of getting in the way of the script, but it, I think, helps people read my scripts in a really visual way.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and if you know you're directing it anyways, then this is a note for me. I want to make sure that I have this specific idea. That makes sense.
Exactly.
Jessica does it too.
Yeah. Well, I think it also depends on, like you said, like if you're writing it for you, if you're directing it for you, knowing you're going to edit it, you just work a little bit differently, because it's less of a, like, the inner workings of it. Do you know what I mean? So like half
like you
of
said,
it in your brain, and like, yeah, exactly. Versus
you're not hindering someone else because you know that,
right,
or someone else's creative journey.
Right. If you're writing something and you're, putting camera directions and like all these different like acting, choices that essentially on the day should be made by the director or by the DP or whatever it is, it like you said, it can like hinder someone else's job, because it's like stepping on their creativity if it's like too much in the script. I mean, of course, on the day they can then choose to kind of like throw it out or not. But
would you say that drama is your favorite type to direct or write, and or what genre is your favorite?
I think that my favorite genre to write would be dark humor. And I think that a lot of people that I love, like Tim Burton is my favorite director ever. And I love his surrealist style and how he takes these ordinary things but puts them in a surreal bubble. And so when you watch something like Beetlejuice, there are these real moments of connectivity and humanness, but the costumes are outrageous, the lighting is crazy, the music is bizarre. And so I think magnifying ordinary experiences on this surreal scale is what I like to do. And that also lends itself to music videos and even commercials too.
I totally agree. And I really got that feel from Seeking Sugar, because it is, you know, not a life that I am used to at all. But when you're dropped into that world, first of all, it was very visually stunning. Everything was gorgeous. And then you have the element of the coworker best friend that has passed away. So you have that ghost element to it. You have, and just this world that's like so foreign, but for some, but the emotions were so real. And it's, and as audiences, even if that world is not your own, we can connect to that person and we can understand, they're like what they're going through because they're dropped into those circumstances.
Well, and especially with Seeking Sugar, I mean, you see the appeal. The appeal is what's on screen. It's gorgeous. Like the women are gorgeous. The guy's not too bad either. I mean, like, even though he's like an old man, whatever, but but you know what I mean? Like, and like the surroundings, like, it's just like, it's gorgeous. It's heightened. The colors are like so like glittery and like, and rich. So you just feel the opulence. So you see like the sugar, right? And them seeking it and everything. And then, but then juxtapose that with the pile up of the lifestyle, and you just still see it. Like you see, like you said, the cyclical, or like what's in the description, the cyclical nature of it, of like wanting to be
how
around
you get pulled
opulence.
in and
Right. And then seeing the abuse of everything, but then still wanting that, like, because how do you then come out of that world into like, I mean, I could only imagine like anything around you would feel gray and beige when you're outside of it versus when you're in it. It's like so piercing.
Yeah. How did research for everything go?
Well, so I talked about this a little bit at the Q&A, but for Burbank, but so on that first set where I started as the PA, I'd met a girl who was my exact same age, had just graduated college when I did, and had just moved to LA. And we quickly became really good friends, being the only two young girls on set. And she was telling me about how she sugar babies on the weekend. And as I got to know her, and still to this day, almost, over 4 years later, she's one of my closest friends in the world, and really helped me with the, want to stay anonymous, but really helped me create this story and create this world. And I'm so thankful for her for sharing that with me and being so vulnerable and open. But her background is that she's from a really small town in the Northeast, and it's kind of opioid riddled. And, most people from her town hadn't even been to the major city in that state. And she, in high school, started sugaring, and that's how she, lost her virginity. And it was probably more of a form of closer to prostitution at that level, but it is how she paid to get herself to college. She got a full ride to college, but how she literally paid for gas to get there and buy food there. And she then went to college in Boston, and that was sort of a level up where it's like, okay, I'm going to join Seeking Arrangements, and there's these men here that will take me out to a really nice dinner, that there's a new level of wealth here. And through that's how she was able to move to LA, but knew that coming to LA was really the like mecca of sugaring. And having sort of glamorized the film Pretty Woman growing up, and Lana Del Rey. And when you got to LA, I saw her starting in Seeking Arrangements in LA a little bit, but the goal is to be in one of these groups. And there's probably, I don't know the exact number of it, but many high net worth men who have groups of girlfriends. And depending on how wealthy you are is, what the perks of the job are, and maybe how many girls you have in your group. But who Seeking Sugar is based off of is this guy who runs the top group, which she wasn't in. She was in a different group, but she had a friend of hers who I spoke to who's in the top group.
Mm-hmm.
And he has 16 girls. They're all blonde, all very thin. And within those 16 girls is like a top four. And those are the ones that get the cars and the penthouses and fly with him on the private jets. And so seeing her get into one of these groups, and also why you want to be in one is because you know the guy will have more money if he can afford all these girls. And they're a real person. It's not just, it's normally a somewhat public figure. And they take precautions, and you know they're going to pay you because they don't want a lawsuit. There actually was a lawsuit thing that I talked with one of the girls about, which she kind of can't sue because then they're just going to be like, well, you're a prostitute, sort of thing. But they do STD checks. You could be on their company's payroll for different, so it feels safer to be in one of these big groups for sure.
Right.
And so with my friend, really at the beginning, getting to see her climb up the ladder of this group of girls. And so that's kind of when I started my development job, and I was working from home some days, and her and I would be both working from a coffee shop, and I'd be calling rental houses and she'd be, organizing orgy schedules. And it was just so matter of fact, and it was so fascinating to me. And it started out really fun, and we would eat the Nobu leftovers and sell the purse that he bought her. And quickly, as she climbed the ranks, it becomes more toxic and emotionally abusive in her situation, and seeing the downfall of her as well and being knocked off of the top spot. But yeah, it's really like every sugar daddy and every sugar baby agreement is different. Every group is different. The one that she was in particular, he has a group of like 8 girls that are kind of all going in rotation, but only ever has like one main girlfriend. And he rents a hotel room Monday through Friday. His wife thinks that he still works. He's like in his 80s. And he rents a hotel. So she thinks he's going to work. He owns a business, which he's still involved in, but like doesn't actually go to work. And they, at 9 a.m., meet at the hotel room and have the orgy from 9 a.m. to 12 p.m. And then after the orgy is lunch. And then after lunch is like shopping or, going to one of the girls' apartments and getting massages. And then after that, the head girlfriend will do, her nails all together. And then after that, the head girlfriend will spend the rest of the day with him doing errands and having an early dinner with his friends. And so, you've got to think that his wife probably knows something's up. But yeah, and then some people they don't have sex at all. Like, and that is a real thing. And everyone I say that to rolls their eyes and says, yeah, sure. But I've met multiple women who have a great partnership with a guy that is a real companionship and someone who wants company and a friend and, to go out to dinner with someone in an intimate way, but is too old or embarrassed to be physical. And then some girls I know, I met one girl who I can only describe her as a more beautiful Kendall Jenner. And she had a no touch rule. And I think that and she was making some of the most money out of anyone I'd ever met. And so I think, that could also be part of it, that you can't, but just being seen out to dinner with her is worth the money and people thinking that you're with her.
I mean, that's so interesting, like the power dynamics and the hierarchy. I mean, no wonder you were pulled to do this. I also think to write Seeking Sugar. I also think too, I'm just thinking, that sounds like the Playboy Mansion. Like, little did I know.
That's what I literally thought is like, this isn't so foreign because like we literally grew up watching that reality show,
right?
If we were allowed to, and like we saw that happening in real time.
Right.
Exactly. So I'm a huge fan of The Girls Next Door, and they have a rewatch podcast that I love. And in that rewatch podcast, you watch the show and then they pause it and they're like, oh yeah. And then we all went upstairs and he force fed us pills and we all had to take turns riding him. And it was dark and then I cried myself to sleep. But then you see on the TV this really and it was so aspirational and you wanted to be like one of them, and so
Well,
fun. He was so kind, and what a sweet family they had.
and they framed it too as like these women have power in this, which to an extent, sure, but how much is still like like debate. Like there's essentially like there's some power, but how much, right? Like I don't know. And I mean,
And
I guess technically those women like they do and now have platforms like on their own, but yeah, I don't know.
well,
It's
so
crazy.
that's sort of how I personally connected to the story,
Mhm.
was that moving to LA at 22 years old and walking on to a set and being the only young woman, I felt, eyes on me. And it felt like power in that moment
Mhm.
of like, oh, everyone wants to talk to me. Like everyone wants to, you know, give me 2 cents of advice, and everyone's really interested and whatever. And even now at 26, which is not, much older, I have felt that gone away. I'm no longer the youngest, bright-eyed little lamb in the like. So, and realizing like, oh, that wasn't power. That was like men trying to take advantage of me, or people thinking I was stupid and could get something out of me. And then this spreads out into not just women, which I'll get into as well, but it's things like when you flirt with a guy at a bar that you're not interested in at all for a free drink, is that a form of sugaring? When you laugh at your professor's joke to have a rapport with him so he ups your grade, is that a form of sugaring? And then even talking to a man once, like, who had a boss that he hated so much, who was so mean to him, but he did anything that this boss wanted and sucked up to him, was told that like, if you want to make it, you have to work for this guy in the industry, and was like, I didn't need to do that. Like, I quit and my life is fine and I'm doing great, but why did I feel so forced to be in this power dynamic?
Yeah, I also think, I mean, so I waitress on the side whenever things get slow. And let me tell you the amount of stories I have of guys like not just even hitting on me or doing, but just like slight offhand comments. And the feminist in me is like, fuck you, like whatever. But
But then
I'm
you just
sorry,
smile.
I have to get a tip from you. So I'm not gonna like shove that down your throat. I'm gonna be like, and walk away, like, trying not to like, just to ease the tension or whatever it is. It's crazy. Like, yeah, I mean, I just think that that dynamic goes beyond, this, intense hierarchy, but like it's everywhere. It's society right now.
Yes, and I think that the most successful sugar babies are the ones who are best at that. Like, that's probably why I wouldn't be a good sugar baby, because I'm not a very good liar. I'm not very, I show all my expressions on my face, and I'm not very patient or good at stroking egos, really.
Mhm.
Uh, and such a skill that these girls learn how to do.
Yeah.
And so I wouldn't take that away, but when you take a step back from it, what is that skill really getting you? And is there any power really under the eyes of the oppressor? And, as you might feel like, oh, we're taking this old man's money and for all he's worth and taking him for a ride. But he knows that. He's paying you.
Yeah, at
He's the
the end of the
boss.
day, he's the one with the money, and at any point he could say no more. And
Exactly.
then
And
where are you?
a lot of guys don't pay you. They'll buy you presents, or pay your rent directly, or pay your tuition directly, or, my friend's example, get her like a membership to Erewhon for her groceries. But they don't want you to be able to save up and leave. They want you to be dependent
Mm.
on them.
Oh, that is
So that's
that's so manipulative. That was my first thought, and I was like, this is great, because then like if they could like save up money, and then like you addressed it immediately, like, oh.
Yes, and that was with the girls in the Playboy Mansion as well, too. They were
Mm.
given an allowance each week, which they had to go and ask for themselves, like go and ask Hef like for their money. And he had it in a box in his bedroom. So it wasn't just something that was given to them. It was like the shame of having to ask for it each week as well.
Yeah.
And it was for expenses of living in the mansion, of going to the parties. And so if you didn't have a new dress for that party, you'd get in trouble and sort of get sniffed out a little bit of like, what are you doing with your money then? And a lot of them pay for your car and things like that. So it kind of can all get taken away from you in an instant. And that's a line that I have in the script where she's like, what's after this? What can I do next? Like, I've done a lot of admin work for the past 2 years as a sugar baby, but I can't put that on my resume because that is really what it is. There are, tangible
Well, who
skills
are
that you
your
can take from it.
references? Yeah, when
Yes.
people then are like, "Oh, like, where are your references?" It's like, well, what's he gonna say about me? Like, yeah, that's crazy. Getting back to your short with the ghost of the previous friend or coworker.
Gigi,
Was
right?
that always like a premise? Like, what was the use of that narrative device for you?
So in a very early draft of the script, kind of how I first started writing it was that, so the main sugar baby who we're following is Baby, is the character's name, sort of like in every woman and every
Yeah.
sugar baby.
Mhm.
And she is being haunted by the ghost of her best friend Gigi, who used to be the head girlfriend, and Baby came and took her spot. So she's being haunted by Gigi and being hunted by Rachel, who's the new girl coming into the group and gonna take her place in the circle. But Rachel wasn't a character at first, and how the original messaging of it was how you do kind of code switch as a sugar baby. And Gigi and Baby were meant to be the same person. It showed that at the end she ended up killing herself, and how Baby was, the kind of version of you when you're outside of the sugaring world and everything's gray and bleak. And then Gigi's the one who can, maybe I probably would have changed their name too, would have make it make more sense, is the one that can turn it on and flirt with him, and how you really do separate yourself from it. But then as I started to think about what was important to the story, the cyclical nature of everything, I felt like was more important,
Mm-hmm.
that I wanted to show. And so I think with having those three girls, you see the life cycle of being a sugar baby. And that's the thing with the girls too, why there's no power, is that you can be the best sugar baby. You can be the prettiest one. You can be the most shiny object, but you have a short lifespan. There's only such a time. They're not doing this because they're interested in monogamy or a long-term partner. It's maybe a power addiction, a sex addiction. And so your time is coming for you, even if you're going to age out too eventually. And then if it turns into something more, and you find, and there are stories of people that I've heard of people that do become monogamous with a sugar daddy and have a real relationship, and it turns into a marriage or a partnership that just looks a little different, where the guy pays for it, which is a common relationship now. So they wouldn't consider. So there's also an older woman that I met once who watched the movie, and she is married to a very wealthy man. And afterwards she said to me, she's like, well, this isn't sugaring. This is just prostitution. Like, I don't know what sugaring, like, this is just, and I was like, oh, well, because what's really different than you and your husband between this? Like, you don't really like him, but he supports you and does everything for you. And so of course you have to kind of draw that line between yourself and what they're doing.
Well, also that's just like what women would do. I mean, like that's before,
historically, because we weren't allowed to,
have we were property
in our name, or literally back in the day, like walk out in the street by ourselves,
right.
Sometimes you
yes.
Yeah.
Yes. But I will say too, and I mean, I'm so pro women, anyone literally doing whatever they want as long as it doesn't hurt anyone else. And I think that a lot of women, there is benefits to sugaring, women that can really separate themselves. It is a 9 to 5 that they clock in and out of. You can, and you're with the right guy, and you can save, and you can be able to pay for, if you have children and support, I've heard stories like that, which I think is great. But you're seeing this skew, at least I am nowadays online, of this kind of lifestyle being glamorized. And some men have said to me that when they go on dating apps, they feel like they feel like it's 100% of women competing for the top 10% of men, is something that I've heard for some men recently. And they're like, I don't have a sports car to post on my Hinge. I'm not over 6 feet tall, but I am contributing a lot more to society in a way, and I'm a good person than some of these girls are who think that they're too good for me, and in that kind of way. So I think that if women do want equality, we do have to maybe, and obviously there are so many barriers for women still nowadays that makes this impossible or hard. But I think it is, what I've come out of this experience is that like it is important to be your own sugar daddy if you want to be truly equal.
Yeah, absolutely. This film did not have any like judgment. I mean, I think it literally was quite, I think, a exploration and maybe like a desaturation of the glamour a little bit. Just forewarning, like, hey, these are like, it isn't just glamour. There are real like
emotional
conflicts.
consequences.
Yeah, exactly. At play. And so, if you choose to get in, just FYI.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that really seeing the reality of this absurd world was my goal of it, and make whatever judgments and whatever you want to take from that, but to show something that you really don't get to see the everydayness of, in, at least I haven't really in other types of media. And yet to be able to take your own story. And that's what I love so much about going to festivals, is that whether people like it or not, or agree with it or not, people do want to talk about it to me after and share, oh, this thing happened to me and that reminded me of this, and why would he ever do that? And so I really love how conversational the piece is afterwards.
Yeah. It's
absolutely.
Yeah.
How did you attach talent to your short? How did that process go for you?
Yeah, so I think that going back to like all the things that I did of doing it myself after college and doing the lighting design and costume and set in my own bedroom, I was really nervous for this part because I'd never really had a real team of my own where I was calling all the shots and hiring a costume designer and hiring all these roles myself and having kind of full sway over it, that I was nervous to let go of control of that part of things. But that was the best thing I ever could have done for the script, and seeing amazing things that these people came up with. So I did hire a casting director, Elizabeth Valenti, and she's amazing. And so she got me John O'Hurley from Seinfeld, who played the sugar daddy, and he was just perfect for it. And she also got me Jeannie, who played Baby, the main girl. But then everyone else, mostly all the other girls, so Gigi and Rachel, the two blonde girls, are my two closest friends in the entire world from NYU. Like, they're the girls that I lived with when I first moved out here. They're the girls that I spend every weekend with. And then all the other side sugar babies, for the most part as well, were also girls from NYU. So really pulling those connections. And
I love that. It goes back to everything that we've said, is like, you have to be a good person in school and also be a good person out in the world. You can't just think that, oh, I haven't started yet. Like, these people will come back into your life and we will, grow together and come up together. And
yes. Yeah. And I'm just so fortunate to like have, when I was writing this, I lived with them. So I could be like, hey, can we come in and do this scene? And I wrote it for them in their voices as well, too. So that was very helpful.
That we're the casting director. No, you're the second person to have told us that. It's like, it kind of gives you clout, or just people will actually open the email if it comes from this casting director. And I think if you can swing the payment for them, it does pay back tenfold. Yes, for sure.
Yes, exactly. And Elizabeth in particular is also young and works for a great casting company, but wanted to do something on her own and be the head casting. So finding people that are at your level as well, I think is, and then also making something so great that people above your level want to work on it too. Like my DP, who's a great friend of my boyfriend's, Adon Menon, he's like so insanely talented. And I really wanted a female DP. I think it's a female driven story, just having the power to create a crew. I wanted to be conscious of hiring women. And then also I wanted the camera to, there's a certain way that you feel eyes on you as a young woman. And I wanted the camera to be able to replicate that. And I felt like having a woman would be helpful to understand that. But and I had a meeting with Adon for him to help me find female DPs. And he was like, well, would you mind if I like threw my hat in the ring? And we started talking about it. And he got the story so well. And, I'm good friends with his wife, who's an amazing costume director. And all the girls said that on set, if they like look up from a take, he'd be like radiating kindness from his eyes. So he was,
Oh.
so and I think it also goes to show that you don't have to just be a woman to understand this experience as well.
Let's talk about your press kit. We have a couple more questions. We're learning so much about this project and your passion behind it, and we love it. So you obviously have the, the background in marketing. Your press kit is, short and sweet, but it has all the information you need. Was it ever longer than, what is it, 5 slides? 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, 5, like 4 slides. Was it ever longer than that and you had to trim it down, or how did the process go? And did you go anywhere specifically for any notes or take any classes on creating it specifically?
No, I think that all that comes from creating decks in development. And, almost every deck that I start, the first couple drafts, I feel like look like they were made by a fourth grader. And it takes a lot of practice of, scaling back on, just choose one font, just choose one color background. Not every pitch deck needs to have a really strong theme to it. You can kind of find that in the color and the font that you choose. It doesn't need to have a ton of little animations all over it. And so taking all those skills that I'd learned and putting it into this and just keeping it as short and sweet as possible. But I think like a piece of advice that I'd give for creating pitch decks would be to link everything within it. So I love that. I think that's how I saved space, was not doing bios in it for people, but having everyone's name linked to their IMDb and notable credits underneath, but just having embedded links keeps it looking very clean. And I also do think that as a director who loves creating visuals, this is just another form of that. I can't paint or draw, but I do like creating digital art and making things look nice and have a color scheme and a layout to them.
Oh, absolutely. It's
it shows.
Definitely artistically put together. Absolutely.
What about the festivals that you submitted to? What was the decision process of submitting to these festivals? Also, are there any like notable festivals that you like thought that it did get into that you like were like, this was a great experience for XYZ?
Yeah, I think that the festivals, applying to them, my thought process was that, networking and all the other reasons, but to also having had so many projects that just live on my computer, it's really nice to have it be officially out in the world and to have other people see it and to have the laurels of like, okay, this is a real thing that got in somewhere and people liked it. And I will say with NYU, as like frou-frou-y as some things were, they were big proponents of your art is only as good as how many people come and see it and tell you it's good. And which, I think is here or there. Some people, I do think the best art is probably the best movie script is in someone's mom's basement somewhere, like that we've never.
But career-wise, it makes sense.
Yeah, there's like that Taylor Swift lyric, like the best songs are, I don't know, something along those lines.
Never been written or whatever it was. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. And
we need to do a Taylor Swift count because we mentioned her a lot on this.
Yeah, we do.
But so I think that being able to make it official and hopefully take it to the next level. And it's funny though, because before festivals, I did start sending it out to managers and other people and have been working with a manager on turning it into a feature. And so that actually took a lot of weight off of my shoulders going into the festival season of like, okay, I think the main point of doing the festivals is to make connections and try to get it made into something else. And I already have that opportunity. So that felt good. But I think meeting people, being able to see and celebrate your work and being able to celebrate your cast and crew too is a really important thing. And I'm such a believer in collaboration and giving everyone their flowers and being very complimentary to people on set, because, when you're on set, you see obviously like how much work the gaffer is doing, how much work the props master is doing. But when that is really quickly forgotten about when you're watching a movie, and people in a way almost do just associate the director with all of that and give the director credit for all of that. So I think it's really important as the director to give other people the credit when you can.
The director essentially, you're leading your team for your quote unquote vision and everything, but those people who have those individual jobs, they're the best at what they do. Like that is their thing. That lighting trick right there is like that person did it and like made it, created it and was, accomplished it to then lead it into the storytelling. And a good thing too, as like a reminder for all of us, is like when our film gets the laurels, that means everyone who worked on it also gets the laurels. Every person can then say like, oh, I lit that. I did the costuming for that. Whatever it is, they also are getting the credit. And it's not just living in the, in your computer, and their work is also being seen.
Yes. Yeah. And just shouting out a festival, I feel like Catalina was a really special one. It was black tie. And so that,
Ooh.
on a red carpet, and,
Yeah.
you have to spend the night there. So that felt really special to do that one. But they are all great. And it's so, the ones I've been to, I've been really fortunate that they feel really community based and really real. But some of them that I've seen, can be a ripoff. So you want to cast a wide net when you're applying. And I know some people that have made amazing stuff that have gone into literally nowhere. So you can't let that get, because, that thing that I said earlier about your only is, it's true, but festivals, they're looking for a particular thing. And I think some festivals, that gear a little bit more community and family friendly, maybe don't want some of the shots that I have of like doing cocaine through a glass table and twerking. And so you're not going to be a right fit for everywhere. And if you're just trying to like, after this process, and like I could make a short film just for the purpose of getting it into as many festivals as possible. And I know the themes that I'd cover, I'd keep it 8 minutes long. But I think that there's no point. You should make what you want to make, and if it, and see where it lands.
Yeah.
So where can people watch Seeking Sugar? You're still in the festival circuit, right? So it's not out yet.
Yeah. So I still have to keep it like not on a public viewing link. But if anyone wants to watch it, they can reach out to me and I can send them the link. I'd love to share it.
Love it.
You can DM me on Instagram or email me. And I'm not quite sure where it will land, because part of me really wants to put it out on YouTube and share it with the world. But then if I'm making a feature, maybe I want to keep it a little closer to my chest until I feel further along on the feature. So I'm not quite sure yet.
Yeah. But we will keep it updated. You let us know and we'll post it on whenever it lands somewhere. Let us know and we'll post it.
Yes.
Was it a decision to make it a feature versus a series, or was it always a feature in your mind?
So this is kind of where some like interesting industry stuff comes in, where it was a series in my mind. But this manager and production company only want a feature. And so I'm not going to turn down a really amazing opportunity. And that just means, and maybe one day it could become a TV show and be a different thing. And the TV show version, I see, I loved The Studio. I don't know if you guys watched The Studio yet. But like sort of the TV show would be like The Studio meets Curb Your Enthusiasm, and these very situational comedy that happens as a sugar baby and sugar daddy and different guest stars and whatnot. But I think the film version you can share with more people, and more people are now going to hear this story maybe. And then also having it have a little more weight to it and seriousness in the film, but without making it a morality tale either.
Yeah,
just peeling back the curtain so that more of a wide audience can see what actually goes into this life.
Yeah, exactly.
What about your other works? Do you have any other works to share that people can
find?
You can check out Leo Amario on Instagram and see some of our work together. You can follow me on Instagram to see some of the more campaigny commercial stuff I did. I just did a campaign for a great underwear brand called Nudes, and we did some promo stuff for their website and their Instagram, but we also made a short film with the underwear product. So that was a really fun project for me to think about how to make a story involving underwear and the vision and brand that they had. And so I love doing stuff like that where it's, pleasing the client and working within creative constraints, but also having to be creative and think outside the box. And then also I'm working on a musical with my friend right now. And we've been working on it for like 2 years. But we're very close. We're right now recording all the demos of the songs and getting professional musicians to make the music for the demos. And then we've started doing a little casting talk here and there. But it's been a really exciting and that's like my favorite thing that I do out of everything, to be honest, like when her and I work on that musical together, and that I could just do for hours. And so
I love musicals so much. And I have I can't with music. Like I have no musical ability, like zero, but I'm such a fan of them. And I'm in awe of them. I love them so much. It's so exciting, which also goes really like close to what you're saying in terms of like, you like really like the spectacle of everything. And yeah, it just leans right into what you're saying.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah, and I don't want to say too much about the plot of it yet, but hopefully this spring you'll see. But it's based on a true crime story that we all know. And I had worked in documentary and true crime stuff as well when I first moved here, and seeing how performative all of it was, and thinking about like what's the most performative medium. It's a musical. And so these two worlds pair very well together, actually.
I mean, Chicago, it's,
exactly. Exactly. So we're calling it a rockumentary.
Ooh.
Oh my God, I love it.
Okay, so obviously we will link all your links down below.
Your socials and everything below.
Yeah, and your website as well, because it's amazing. Is there anything else in your future that you have that you want to like share or anything? I mean,
or plug.
It.
Yeah, I mean, you just plugged a lot. That's a musical's a big feat.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I'll just keep everyone updated on Instagram and my website. I won't lie, like it's not like starting out where I am. It's not fun or glamorous, really. I mean, it's fun when you're on set, but I have a long way to go, and I'm very excited to see what the future holds and become more established over time. But I think that this is a really exciting period, and I'm trying to enjoy it. And one day I'll look back on this time period and, wish I could go back to this. It's sort of how I'm trying to see it. So
yeah, we're so glad that we caught you, because this is a big win to celebrate. Yeah. Seeking Sugar is a massive win of, making that visually stunning piece that also provokes, like you said, so much conversation. And you being just so open to speaking with people. We're so grateful that you came on the podcast and shared your story so far with us. And we're going to continue to tune in.
Yeah, we can't wait to have you back on in like 5 years and talk about the musical and all the other new things that you have coming down the line.
Thank you guys. Yeah, this was amazing. I'm so happy that we got to do this, and I'm so excited to have a new podcast to listen to every week.
Yay! Thank you. Well, thanks everyone for listening, and go get set.